Alright, we are live. So, today the plan is simple. The plan is not simple. The plan is actually rather complicated. We have like 5 things to do. But, the goal is to finish off the nuclear plant. So, first step is to scale. We currently have 1 floor of each of our buildings. I want to have about as many floors as I can manage. Not just 1. So, first we need to do some math. We need to figure out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inputs. How much of each we have. Also technically water, but, you know. We have, looks like a full pipe of water. So we have to figure out how much of each we have and how much of each one recipe uses. So, why did that build that down there? I wanted to just expand this out. Alright, so let's have that. And let's also bring power over here so that I can hover around while looking at my nice signs. Alright, power has been acquired. Now, as far as signs go, our display sign is going to be big enough. Place one in and see. Sulfur. And let's try. Supply is some number. Let's say it's going to be a 3-digit number. Demand is a 3-digit number. Alright, putting that space there makes it look bad. But that's plenty fine. So let's have some signs for everything. 1, 2, 3, 4, what was it? Like 8 things. Five, 6, 7, and 8. So we have sulfur, we have iron ore, we have copper ore, we have caterium ore, iron, copper, alright, we have quartz, coal, and uranium. So yeah, quartz, coal, uranium, and water are the remaining things that we need to account for. So, we have quartz. Really have to type basically the entire word in order to have it show up. We have coal, we have uranium, and we have water. Alright, so now we need to start filling in these numbers. Sulfur, supply. Please say I wrote it down. Uranium, coal, sulfur is 300. Alright, supply is 300. Iron supply is, I believe... Gosh, we're getting it locally, but I believe it's a full belt. Looks like a full belt, probably. let's just fly over here to confirm that. So that's 300. That's another 300. So yeah, the supply is theoretically 780. I guess that is a full belt. So we can go over there and mark that down as 780. So over we go. Iron. Supply 700. No, the 7 key. The 7 key is my nemesis. It frequently just doesn't work. I believe copper is the same. Let's drop down to inspect copper, see what's going on with you. We've got 300 there. 300 there. And I believe this meets up with another thing over here. Way over here. And this is another 300, so theoretically 900, but obviously doesn't count because belt limits. So we're going to mark that down as 780. Alright, Caterium. Caterium is brought in via train, and it's 600. Supply of 600. Quartz, brought in via train. There's a train in that stop, so I can't see what the stop is called. Please move. 1200, so I guess we can write 1200 because technically it's showing up via train. I doubt quartz is going to be the bottleneck anyway. Coal, where is coal? Deuterium, quartz, uranium. Alright, that looks like a normal purity coal. Oh, I can just check the names here. Nuclear coal supplier is 300. So we set that. Uranium supply is, I believe, 300. And water supply is currently 600. And it would be a bit of effort to improve that, but not too much. Alright, next up is demand. So we need to go to our blueprints and figure out how much of each thing we use. So sulfur is 25 there, and I believe none anywhere else. So demand is 25. Iron. Iron ore should just be used here, probably. 31.662. Just going to confirm that the rest of these require iron ore. Alright, 31.662. There we go. Next up is copper. Copper ore is 12.8. 12.8. Caterium is 46. Quartz is, let's see here, 22.886. 0.886. And I'm going to shrink that supply to 780 because we're just dealing with one belt currently. So then coal is, I believe, only ever used in that recipe, so it's 9. So pop that in. Uranium is just used there, so it's 25. And then finally, water. Water is used 54 there, 18 there, hang on. 54.533 plus 18.092, 18.092 plus 7.714. 7.714. Alright. And 54.533 plus 18.092. That's not a plus. I missed it again. 18.092 plus 7.714 is 80.339. 80.339 water. Alright, so now we have that. We can get rid of those. So then the next step is figuring out how many floors of each of these our supplies can handle. So we need a, preferably just like a tiny sign here. Just put that a little bit in front of each. And it's just going to have a number. So layout, text only, and 300 divided by 25 equals 12. So we need to copy the paste it, copy the settings, and obviously we're going to have to change the numbers on all of these, but the settings should be the same for all of them. Alright, 780 divided by 31.662. 31.662 is 24.635. 24.635. 780 divided by 12.8 is 60.937. 60.9375. 600 divided by 46 is 13.04. 13.04. 780 divided by 22.886 is 3.49. 3.49. 300 divided by 9 is 33.3. This shouldn't be 3.49, right? This should be like 33. Huh. 34.08. Alright. It's just an entirely different number. I don't know how I got that math horribly wrong. But there we go, 34.08. 300 divided by 9 is 33.3. 300 divided by 25, I've already done this one, it's 12. 600 divided by 80.339 is 7.5 ish. So look at all of these, and the smallest number is water. However, water is on site relatively easy to expand. So the second smallest number is sulfur. Sulfur and uranium are both at 12, which makes 12 a relatively reasonable stopping point. So we're going to need to expand water a little bit. Add in a second pipe. But that should be easy. So instead, we're going to be doing all this. And this... So 12 floors of sulfur and uranium. That's a lot. And keep in mind, it wouldn't be terribly difficult to expand all of these up to 600 or 700 and have even more. We're gonna go with 12 floors for now. So I have some boxes full of building materials. I have an inventory full of building materials. I have a dimensional storage. Okay, actually the next thing I need to worry about potentially is belt limit for intermediary steps. So let's see, which of these produces the most raw quantity of intermediary steps? That produces 0.6, that produces 20, that produces 13 and 10, that produces 2, that produces 0.6, 58.8 iron ingots there. And alright, so it looks like 58.8 iron ingots is the most of anything that we have. So 58.8 times 12 is 705, which is less than 780, which means we are good to go. At least for this scale, we won't have to add in more belts anywhere. Alright, time to add a huge number of floors onto all of these. And this water tower is not going to be high up enough. At least I highly doubt it will be. Alright, so this is steel, quartz, and silica. So we're just gonna, I think, try to do these like a row at a time. And what I do need to know is how exactly is auto connecting going to work here. So I pop that in. Do the pipes extend up? Do the pipes extend up? Do the belts extend up? Alright, it took those belts a while to load, but the belts work. The pipes do seem to work as well. That is fantastic. So that's 2 floors. Let's get a third. And fourth. Alright, so that's a pretty big tower. We're going to do this in phases. So let's do these first 4 floors and then loop back. Copper and Caterium, and we need a resupply already. I have resupplies to an extent. With the sheer number of stuff we're building, I'm going to need more of these, but take all of that, take all of this, throw away some, let's see, rubber, random ingots, like 6 quick wires, not helpful, 4 of those, get rid of some of those. Always some random junk in your inventory that you don't need. Alright, we've just barely managed to empty our inventory enough for all this. So, copper and caterium. We're gonna fly up. And put that one in. Fly up a bit more. Put that one in. Alright. That is pretty good. We've fallen out of the range of our power supply. So now we just need the iron. So we expand that one up. And that one up. And almost out of sheets. We can do this last batch though. Alright, so the resource refineries are set up partially. And I think I have managed to gravely underestimate how much resources all this was going to take. So what we're going to need to do is like we're probably going to need to just like create production lines of concrete and plates in this general vicinity and then rely on those. Alright, but that is one building all powered up. Now let's come around here and do the same for this building. So we drop down to this floor. Alright, where are the power poles on this one? Are the power poles on this one in here? Yes. Alright, so we take that and we fly on up just past the sign and hook that one up, and then we go up again and hook that one up, and then we go up again and we hook that one up, and that's the top one on this floor. Alright, now we have the iron building. So we go around here. This is where the power line is. So we bring the power up. We don't go into any of the wrong doors. We go into all the right doors. And that's that for iron production. Alright, so that should be the entire first zone. Lack of water. Yeah, that makes sense. We are currently above the water tower. So let's fix that. This water tower, you're going to have to go just hilariously high up. Like the highest water tower that has ever water towered. And that probably won't even be enough. But at least it'll be something of a start. And we bring power up here so that we can fly. And let's go up another 10. We need so much height for this. Yep. We are in the clouds now. And I don't know why I was hitting the wrong button there. Try to get this to rotate. So we need that. And we need an industrial fluid buffer. And we need another industrial fluid buffer. So let's get the second buffer in. Alright, now we need to... I guess it doesn't make a difference whether we bring the water up or down. So we need pipeline Mark II. That goes down and around onto that. And then all the way down. And all the way down. And all the way down. And all the way down. So then this can attach... I don't really want to like break the existing thing while I'm working on the new thing, so that can just do that. And then go all the way up. And we need pumps now. So then that goes there, and we need another pump to get it all the way up here. And I don't know why it keeps insisting on putting these backwards, but... Did it put that one backwards? Is that why I'm not seeing the indication of where it goes? Yeah, I must have. Alright. Probably... Is it all the way up there? It's hard to tell. I'm going to power the lines and then see. So we take that, we hook that up, and then we bring that down to another random power line, and we hook that one up. Now we have to go down and hook this one up. And finally, and most importantly, we hook that one up. Also, can you be a Mark III power pole? Thank you. Now we get to see how high up the water goes and if it makes it into the fluid buffer or not. And it sure is going. Up it goes, filling pipe after pipe. Finally making it into the fluid buffer. Nice. And does this say head lift is 45.1? Alright, so now we have a fluid buffer. Now we bring the water back down. So down it goes. No more need for pipes or anything fancy like that. Just... For pumps, we definitely need pipes. So we just bring this down all the way. And a little bit more. And there it goes. Then we put a junction on there and hook that up. And now there is enough water pressure to push the water all the way up to the top, probably. So we have steel there, we have silica there. We should get quartz crystals in there, assuming that this all works. let's head inside and check that out. No water here. But why not, is the question. Oh, no, water is showing up. Just took a while. That makes sense. It's got to fill up a whole bunch of pipes first. Alright. So that's that. These two things should also be filling up soon. Just gotta wait for the water to get there. And is there a limestone here? There is a limestone deposit right over this way. So let's make some concrete. Where is... Here it is. It's just a normal deposit, which is slightly not ideal, but it's fine. Alright, so we mine that out. And we pop in our miner Mark II. Find a power pole. You've got spare. Power you on. Power shard you up. Throw away that in my inventory. So target production rate is 300 limestone per minute. Now, is there any fancy way of making concrete? Not easily. Seems like too much work, so let's just do constructors. Also, this whole area is radioactive. We love to see it. Let's just make a nice flat-ish foundation down here. Alright, constructor number 1. You can make concrete 45 per minute. So 300 divided by 45 is like 7 constructors. Alright, so let's just place a bunch of these. And because I was copying, they all have the recipe. That's great. Now we just pop the splitters in. Splitter, 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 and splitter. Alright, so let's just get all this set up. And we need these to be fast belts. Carry the 300, and I don't want to use the stupid encased beams. Alright, so that should be like 100-ish concrete a minute, right? This is 300 output, and it's 3 to 1. Okay, right, we need to power these guys on as well. Just do that real quick. Boom. And then merge them up. And we'll merge them up this way, just because. Alright. And then once we merge them up, we can just put them into a box and dimensional storage. I actually think it might be easier to place if I do these lines first, because it should remove the tendency of it to want to use the wrong side of the merger. Alright, and these need to be fast belts, at least Mark II. just going to use Mark III. And put that into an industrial storage container. And then I think, for the sake of extra speed, not necessarily now because it's just starting to produce, but extra speed in the long run, if we put this into two-dimensional depots, it'll go twice as fast. And that should be pretty great. So that's that. We could go and grab even more limestone from around the area. But hopefully this... I mean, it's only 100 concrete a minute, which really is, like, it's fine, but it's not amazing. So the other thing I need is iron, and there are still some unused iron patches over here. So I'll turn those into some plates real quick. And we're out of the radiation zone. It's nice and quiet. Don't have all that background clicking. Alright, so there should be more iron patches over here. Yes, there are. And these look normal. So let's get through those. And through this one. Alright. Miner Mark II. Miner Mark II. Power to these, power them up. And overclock them so that they go very fast. Put the shards in first and then overclock. So that's 600 iron ore a minute total. And we need to convert that into useful plates. So let's elevate this platform a little bit. And we need more vertical space than the other one because we need smelters. We need smelters and constructors. So let's get a line of smelters in. And this is just 30 each. So that's 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180, 210, 240, 270, 300, 330, 360, 390, 420, 450. Expand this platform out even more. Alright, and bring power to this general vicinity. There's gonna be so much work to make all these plates, but oh well. I don't know how many I ended up making in terms of ingots here, but hopefully the answer will be enough. Let's just place all these splitters in, and I probably should have just made this a blueprint and then placed the blueprint a couple of times. Probably would have been a lot quicker. Oh well. So we patch all of these up. Just keep attaching. Just keep placing. Just keep placing. I also realized I need to upgrade these mainline belts. I keep clicking one more time than I need to and going all the way back to the start. Alright, so this belt is going to be real fast. Alright, real fast belt achieved. Now we just put that in. And we have a merger. Put that in. Alright. Now we just need power. So let's make that a power pole, and I keep hitting all the wrong buttons because my hands were slightly misaligned on my keyboard. So we're just gonna keep placing these. Sure is a beam there. Could you please not be standing there? Gosh, this is one thing that I really do not miss about building in the sky. Random beams just forever in the way. Alright, so that is the iron ingot production done. Now I need the constructors. Alright, so theoretically I could go one constructor to one smelter. However, I've built all these smelters very close together. So let's just do as best as we can. And I really don't want to deal with like multiple like merging up and manifolding them back together sort of thing, so I'm just gonna place a bunch of these and then hook them up to whatever smelters I can and then call that a day. Alright, so these are gonna get like increasingly twisted as they go. That's fine. It looks kind of neat this way, honestly. Like, all right, however many constructors we have, may as well have one more. Alright, so yes, it is clipping, but it looks kind of neat, so whatever. Now we just need to... Gosh, I didn't set these first. Foolish of me. So now we just have to run along, spamming Control V for every machine that I see. Paste. Paste and paste. Alright, now we just have to power these on. And then once these are powered on, then we can set up the dimensional storage. Alright, just put another power pole in. And keep connecting. This whole thing is probably using like as much power as the actual nuclear plant at this point. There's just so many buildings. Alright, so that's all of these hooked up. Now we just need to merge them all up into one giant massive thing. So let's do this, and this, and this. Alright, and then at the end of all of that is an industrial storage container. So let's run this main line of belts down. I have no idea how much this is, but the answer is probably a lot, hopefully enough. I feel like this is definitely more than the concrete. So if the concrete was enough, then this will definitely be enough. Just have to place all these little intermediate belts. Now we have a steady stream flowing into there. Then we can do the same thing where we put down 2-dimensional depots and attach them up. Alright, so now that should be zooming. It looks like it is producing faster than the 2 depots are consuming, which is going to be exacerbated even more once the internal buffers of these fill up. So let's, like, I don't know, 2 is probably enough. Like, we use less plates than we use concrete. We use less plates than concrete, and this is more production than concrete. Also, yeah, this just looks kind of cool. Like maybe if we had it centered in the middle, it would look even better, but eh. Alright, so that is that. It looks like these are even producing at 100%. Alright, so with that, we have secured concrete and iron plates. We need to just make sure that we don't run out of all-clad sheets as well. So grab some of those out of the dimensional depot when we have the chance. Alright. So that's basically 3-ish dimensional depots for plates and concrete now. We have, obviously that's counting the one back at the base, which may or may not be filled. Alright, we are back in the radiation zone. And let's check that this is all working, and it is not. So that is just filled up with concrete, and these 2 aren't getting water. So that is 2 problems we're facing here. So what is going wrong? The water supply. So if we look in these pipes, 0 flow rate. Why? Why 0 flow rate? Right up here. Alright. That's a bit of a concern. So this is clearly doing something, but the output isn't. Is this one still getting water, or did that also break? Yeah, that also broke. Are the bottom floors functional? Bottom floors look fine. At very least, they've got enough buffers to last a while. Go in here and check water, plenty of water. So where is the water getting interrupted? I mean, that looks normal. This whole situation looks like there's water showing up. Are the water pumps pumping? That one's at 0%. That one's at 7%. That one's at 17%, 12%, and 12%. Now, if we did the math on the amount of water used, I guess it's probably deceptive because they're all going to be backlogged. But theoretically, we should be using more water than that. So what is going on? Alright, what if I just take that off? So now this should just fill indefinitely because there's no output for it. And all of the water should be coming from here. So all of these head lift look fine. There's plenty of water in these pipes going up. I guess this pipe is starting to look a little bit empty. Keep going up. Everything looks normal. Why does it all look normal? Alright, what if I just like put a valve in to stop any of that water from flowing? And I'm going to need to drop down here and put that pipe back in so that the whole system doesn't explode. So now this top water thing is just a dead end. So there's absolutely now zero flow through this. Is it filling up? No, it is not. But why? Why would this fluid buffer not fill up? I mean, there's all these pipes leading up to it. Is this one, like, barely below head lift? No, it's got plenty of head lift. Alright. The joy of fixing weird bugs. Oh, is it because this buffer has to fill? I bet it's because this buffer has to fill before that will get fed any, because it's lower down. Doesn't answer why this buffer was empty in the first place, though. 8, 9, and full. Alright, so that buffer is now completely full, and water should go up here. Go all the way up this. Check flow rate is showing at 1600. And now this buffer is filling. So if this buffer fills, and I'll give it some time to do that, then, oh, maybe it's because of backflow into this buffer. Yeah, this was creating like a weird loop, wasn't it? Alright, so let's make sure to prevent that with a nice friendly valve. That forcing water to go out through there. And yeah, that should be that should be good. And likewise, a valve here forcing water to go down through there. So now any water in this pipe should just get expelled down. And it should never fill up this. It should just either go down there or backlog up here. Alright, so how full is this? It's like half full. Alright, so if this is approximately half full, that's good. Now, what happens if, actually, while we're putting valves in various places to make sure nothing goes the wrong way, I guess these are all pumps, so it should be effectively a valve anyway. Alright, that's like mostly full. I'm going to say that that's good and pop that valve out. And now we have water flowing out through this thing. And that should, in theory, provide water to all of these forever, and they should be perfectly fine. And yeah, they're showing green again with plenty of water. Alright, I don't understand what happened there, but I seem to have maybe fixed it. Assuming that this isn't like rapidly losing water or anything. 978.8 in storage, and that's just stationary. It's because there's a 600 flow rate pipe in and a 600 flow rate pipe out. So that's just completely capped then until whatever pipes fill up down the line. Right, now it's decreasing rapidly for some reason. Why are you doing that? There should never be 600 drain per minute for this long. Like, we're literally only using like half of that. I don't understand where all the water is going, except that it must somehow be like looping back around through this. So I think I'm just gonna dismantle this lower thing entirely. Just it is no longer attached to anything. There's no longer a loop for the water to flow in. It just goes up and then back down. Alright, the flow rates on all of these are decreasing now. And if I fly back up to the top, then this is filling. Fantastic. We seem to have done it. So I think the problem was there was a loop where like water was being pumped up here and then falling back down and going in there, and then like that loop was taking priority over new water extraction. And I think that was causing the issue. So we go in here, check. Yeah, still fine. Alright, so we've had these first few stages up and running for a while now. Although I think there was actually a problem with the outputs as well. So yeah, that copper output is 0. Deuterium is booting back up. Both of them are stopped. So is this one of these sorts of problems? So that's the Caterium. That's supposed to be the copper, but it isn't there. Alright, so the copper is definitely going in there and just not getting through. The Caterium is getting through, but it's getting stopped later. These sorts of problems are the worst because there's not really anything you can do aside from deconstruct and reconstruct it. Like, it's not possible to, like, understand what the problem is and fix it later. Alright, so we're just gonna have to take that apart, take the top one apart as well, like, simultaneously. I'm in the pipe mode for some reason. Should be in the conveyor belt mode. Alright, so that goes down. Then that goes down. And there's copper flowing through again. I could have sworn I saw the Caterium budge just now. Alright, now is the copper gonna get stuck on every single floor, or is that just a weird problem with that one? Nope, it's getting stuck on every single floor. Alright, so let's do the same thing here. So we take that out. We take that out. And put that back in. And we fly up and put it back in here as well. Alright, are we working now? Yes, we are. At least until it gets down to the next level and gets stuck again. So let's drop down here. Take that out. And go into this one. Take that out. That in, and then go up here and put this one back. Alright, and it works. Love to see it. There goes some serious copper production now. And I believe it is working on the first floor. It's just going to be hard to tell because obviously it's backlogged anyways. Alright. So that's copper fixed. Is Caterium also a problem, or is it just backlogged? Yeah, so I think the Caterium production is stopped just because this is all backlogged, so there's no need for it to run. And then let's do a checkup on the iron production and see if it is getting everything it needs. And yep, the only thing it's not getting is a place to put the output. Alright, so that is like a small portion of the first phase done. Now we need to start putting in the intermediate productions, so that's crystal oscillators. And in they go. And we go up a level. And please the lag. In they go. And we go up a level. And we pop some more in. Alright, so that is that up to the current level. Next up, EM control rods. So those go in. Alright, and we are short on concrete. And starting to get short on plates as well. I think I still have some in these boxes over here that I had stashed just in like the half hour before the stream started. No, I've grabbed everything. Okay, so we are just going to have to wait on our dimensional storage to come through. It's a shame, but in the meantime we can power all of these things up. So if we go in this door, grab the power line, and bring it up to that level, and then grab the power line, bring it up to that level. Apparently it didn't grab the power line there. I thought I did. Alright, so then that's this level all hooked up to power. Then we grab the power line for sure this time. Bring it up to this level. And we don't get stuck. And we power it all up. And that is that. That's that all starting up. Next, we should keep placing these. We get another floor of those in. And spend more time waiting for concrete. Yeah, I'm going to have to upgrade concrete even more. So there's more limestone deposits around. And I can use some of those. So if I just go to the east, there's another limestone deposit, which can output into another. This is only running at 90%. Did I do the math wrong? Must have done the math wrong. Alright, well, let's just, like, squeeze another one of these in. Paste the settings and power it up. And merge it in. Alright, so that should push that up to 100-ish. Next, the new limestone deposit. Actually, are any of these pure deposits? That's normal. That one's normal. That one, even slightly further away, is pure. Oh, speaking of falling out of the sky, I need to bring a power pole with me. Otherwise, I won't be able to power all the stuff that I'm doing. Alright, so if we just bring this along over here, the limestone is this way. where are you? It should be... Am I blind? It should be literally... Ah, yes. The answer is yes. I am blind. Alright. Miner Mark II. Power sharded up. Given a nice row of platforms. Which apparently go straight through the power pole. Let's remove that power pole and put it there instead. And now we can put in our line of constructors. How's the factory? Pretty good. We are trying to expand our nuclear production, but because of all the blueprints we're placing, I need a silly amount of concrete and iron plates. So I am desperately trying to upgrade my production of those just very quickly. Alright, so then that splits off to those. And over to here. And these get belted up. I really, really should have made a blueprint for this. At this point, it's silly that I haven't. Alright. How much concrete even is this? It's like 45 limestone per constructor. And I have, what? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 constructors. 45 times 6 is 270, so I can manage one more constructor. Alright, so let's put a bit more space in there. Get that. Why is it backwards? Alright, these build forwards and get attached up. And hooked up to that. And then merge them. And this is going to be like another... That constructor is not lined up at all. So, put that in. And attach all of these up. And increase this speed to something reasonable. And I have that dimensional storage over there that I guess I can hook this into. It's not like this is using... It's not like that is using the full potential of the dimensional storage. So let's just drag this belt along the river. And bring this along. And keep on dragging it. And a little bit more. Alright, that's too long apparently. Just gonna have to go like there and then into that box that way. And now, with 200... Where is the concrete? Did I put like a Mark 1 belt back here that they're all getting stuck on? Or is this just not connected? It looks like it's connected, but it must not be. Let's just do that. And boom. So now we are getting 200 concrete a minute into the dimensional storage, which means if we check our blueprints, that is basically placing one blueprint every 5 minutes, which is still not incredible. Like, I really could stand that to be faster. But I guess that'll have to do. And we'll grab some of those out as well. So let's go back to the EM control rods, place one more blueprint of those. And in you go. Oh god, the lag. Alright, the lag is pretty bad. So then we go rotors. Right, concrete. Okay. So now we just have to go and I guess power up the EM control rod so that they can actually run. And we can do that while waiting for the concrete. So it's theoretically one blueprint every 5 minutes with 200. So no huge rush. And power one more floor on. Alright. EM control rods automated. So then we have 2 more intermediate stages to go, and then we can expand the fuel rod production and then the power production. Also, while we're doing this, I guess it won't hurt to just drop down here and check how fast the waste is going. Right, so it gets sent back to here, and we already have a good couple stacks. So if I put a throughput monitor on this, how much waste is this actually? It's saying 30 a minute. Oh, now it's saying 24, back up to 30. Alright. So I'm pretty sure it's just 30 a minute. And if 30 a minute, so let's do some math on that then. So these stack up to 500. So 500 divided by 30. So approximately 15, so a little more than 15 minutes to fill up a stack. How many stacks are in this storage container? 8 times 6, so 48. So 16.667 times 48 is 800 minutes to fill up a storage container. So that's like 10, it's like 12, 13 hours, somewhere around there. 800 divided by 60 is 13 hours. So 13 hours to fill up a storage container, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14 storage containers. So 13 times 14 is 182 hours. 182 divided by 24. So at the current rate, it would be 7.5 days of constant playing before this ran out. However, I'm going to be expanding it at least 4 times, because yeah, so we're gonna have 4 floors soon, which means instead of 7.5 days, it would be divided by 4, so like almost 2 2 days of continual running before we have a waste problem. I do have a plan for how I'm going to detect that, and also I'm just going to expand the waste storage even more. Alright. Rotors. I can put another one of those in now. And just continue waiting. So I can grab that power line, bring it down here. And we have additional rotor production now, although not much. Although not much, we have some additional rotor production. So, just have to continue waiting. Now at this point then, like the limiting factor should be the uranium cells, although I suspect they're probably completely fine. Yeah, we have a good backlog of just about everything at this point. And the waiting is killing me. Grab more of those. The plates are basically no longer an issue. Like we have hundreds of plates going into dimensional storage. We realistically can't run out of those for normal construction. But we can run out of concrete still. This is the rotors stack, so that's still 100 short, so that will be like 30 seconds. It feels like it's not going that fast. I'm gonna drop down over to the concrete production and check to see what's going on, because it really does not feel like I'm getting 200 concrete a minute. So if I just pop a throughput monitor on there, and a throughput monitor on there, what are they going to say? That one's saying 95? No, 90, up to 99, around 100-ish. That one's saying around 100-ish. They're going in as fast as they possibly can, which is evidently not fast enough. So I guess just nothing to do but grab concrete out of dimensional storage and wait. We could set up even more concrete production, but at this point it's really not terrible. Like five minutes to place a blueprint isn't fast, but it's not slow either. We could go get that pure node over there and bring that down to like 2.5 minutes to place a blueprint, and then we'd really be talking. Yeah, I think I will. Let's just place down another rotor blueprint and power it up. So we go into here, grab that power line, and power that up. Now I'm going to go grab even more limestone, and this time I'm going to make a blueprint for the constructors, because it's actually just silly to not. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 constructors in a row. And put splitters between them. And belt them together. And just a couple more belts. Alright, now we do this side of things. It would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mergers. And this one's off center. Put that back in. And then we drag these belts along. And alright, this far into the game, we finally have our first belt manifold blueprint. Also, let's add power onto all of these so that I don't have to do that manually either. And I guess I'll set these to concrete preemptively. I can always just change it. I copied the empty thing and then pasted because I hit the wrong button. Alright, so now we have all that. Drop it down here and concrete manifold. Save blueprint. Clear designer. Now let's go off and make some more concrete. So it's off over this way. And where was it? Like there. So let's head over that way. We're going to have to grab a power pole and carry it along with us. Alright, so now we're here. This is our most distant power pole. So we just keep dragging this along. And it should be due north of us. Alright, so plop that in, carry it up here, and this should be it. Yes, pure limestone node. So let's get the rock off the top. Please go away, rock. Thank you, that took forever. Miner Mark II. Power shard it up. And don't want to get in the way of the train line, because that is actually important. So we're just going to extend off this way. And apparently this is too close to the ground for that. So let's just put in a 4-meter foundation and then drag a new foundation like this, except this time high enough to not clip through the floor. So we have that. Power that on. Now we go to blueprints, and it should be in undefined, I believe. Concrete manifold. How much concrete does this use? Who knows? Also, it's facing this way apparently, so just got to make sure that the input belt is on the right side. Pop that in, and we hook it up to that, and that. So this is 5, so 45 times 5 is 225. So I can run 3-ish of these off of this one node. Not quite 3, but 3-ish. So let's expand this platform out a little bit. And get one more. Let's put another one in line with that. And then a third one. I guess just like something like that, just for space purposes. Alright, then that splits off and goes into there. And then that splits off and comes around here and goes into there. I think, based on those radiation ticks, seems like a uranium train just went by. That's fun. Alright. So these are all producing, sort of. So obviously they aren't getting to outputs yet. And also... is this really going at 600? It's depleting so fast. I guess that's manifolds for you. So we're gonna intentionally let this chill for a little bit so the manifold can fill up quicker. While we're doing that, just grab more so that the dimensional storage doesn't fill up. Nice, so all of these have filled up with limestone, except for when they occasionally produce something. And they're just waiting for that to happen with all the rest of these. So if that's 600, and these are, what did I say, 225 each? So these two are 450, and this one brings it up to 675. So it's not going to run 100%. So let's take that out. So now it is 630-ish. 675 minus 45 is 630. And then we drop this down to 5 a minute. And that should be exactly 600. So once this manifold fills, this should be producing 200 limestone a second. And we just want to wait for that to happen. So the longer I wait for this, the faster the manifold will fill because they won't have anything to output to. Which should, in theory, like some of these early ones, should run out of space, although probably not. Like, they have to stack up to 500. So it's probably just going to take forever for the manifolds to fill regardless of what I do. I guess the way to make it go faster would be to stand by all of these. Alright, you can't paste standby, so everything that already has 100, I'm going to turn to standby so that they aren't taking it off of the belt so that the later ones can also fill to 100. And if we just do that, then the whole thing should fill quite quickly. Especially because I chose to use Mark V belts on the input sides. Alright, so set that to standby. And we just keep that up. Almost done filling this manifold. Alright, so that's at 100, standby. Then this one is about to hit 100. It is up to 90, And 100. Stand by. Alright, now we're at the point where it's just the last two. So they are just going to fill real quick anyways. And yeah. So now we can turn all of this on. And the manifold is filled. Manifold is filled, so they should all produce perfectly. And then we can just stick this into a dimensional depot. And be good to go. So, as far as our outputs go, we got that one here, which comes around and merges in with that. And then we're going to need another merger here. So then that and that can merge up. And then this comes out a little ways. And industrial storage container. Actually, how much... What researches have I done for the dimensional depot? Do I have the max speed research? Yes, so they're uploading at 240 a minute, so I only need one dimensional depot for this. Previously, I'd been thinking it was at 120 and I needed two, but it's a good thing I checked because I can go and save immersive sphere too. Alright, so there we go. That is going to upload 240 a minute. And hopefully, well, it'll eventually reach 200 a minute once this all stabilizes. And hopefully that will be enough to be able to build the rest of my factory relatively unrestrained. Let's head along over this way then. And start doing that. Alright, so here we are. We have one more level of rotors, and then the encased uranium cells. So blueprint, nuclear rotors. Alright. That is the correct orientation. And place that in. And we're good. Now we just have to power it. Which just goes there and bring this up. Alright. Then finally we have the encased uranium cells. Encased uranium cells. Where's... There it is. Alright, so we pop that in. And we stack another one on top. And then we have to wait for just a little while to stack another one on top. So then that is up to 954. And we can place it in. Alright. That went relatively smoothly. Now we just have to power it on. And do one more stack of those for the fuel rod production itself. And then once we have the fuel rod production, then we can do the power plants. And then we can start working on some of the other things on my list of things that need to be done. Alright. So that is all good. I'm just going to assume that it probably works for now. And now we just need to wait for more concrete, as always. The waiting is not so bad at the moment. And we can... I guess we can expand out the power plant side of things while we wait. So... Okay, actually... Hang on, there was something that I wanted to try to do here. So if we have four total sets, then that would be 12 of these total, which would be what they burn 0.2 a minute. So 0.2 times 12 is 2.4. Alright, so there was an idea I had, which would be very cool if I could figure it out. And we have time to kill waiting on that. So the idea is, because nuclear power plants go so slowly, you really want to load balance them. But the question is, how do you load balance something that you want to be constantly expanding? And I think I have an answer for that. And it's like almost good. I can get so that a belt can carry 2.5 a minute, I think. But then we're like 0.1 off. And I don't know how to deal with that, but let's fiddle around with it and see. So we have a belt, right? The idea is this. We have a belt. This belt carries 60 units a minute. Okay, what if we want it to be slower than that? So the reason we would want it to be slower than that is for load balancing. So if the belt only carries, say, 5 a minute, or no, actually let's say the belt can carry 0.6 a minute, because that would be the ideal. So then we could attach our rows of 3 nuclear powers to this belt, and they would only receive 0.6 a minute, which is exactly what they need, so we'd be able to just scale that endlessly. Now, how do we do that? Actually, let's not build this in the Blueprint Designer just yet, because I want to have items flowing on it so that I can like see that it works. Let's make some space for experimentation. And yes, this is using concrete, whatever. Alright, so we have our belt. And I'm going to put a storage container on either end. And this belt is not straight. Please be aligned to the grid. Alright, so we have... Get rid of that conveyor pole, get rid of that conveyor pole. So we have a belt, right? And it can take 60 units a minute. Now, what if we put a splitter on this belt, and then a priority merger behind it, and this splitter did not snap to the belt at all. Please. Please do the thing I want you to do. Alright, so then this priority merger takes left as medium. And that just goes back like that. So, let's put a storage container there so that it'll continue to flow. And a throughput monitor on there and there. Now let's throw, I have a lot of these, let's throw some of those in. So my theory is that this should split it in half. So this side will be 60 a minute because it's a Mark 1 belt. And this side will, like, stably over the long run be 30 a minute. And let's see. It looks like it's true. So this, you see, this is only taking 30 a minute because this loop back here is taking the other 30 a minute. So we've done it. We've made a belt that goes at 30 a minute. So 30 a minute is not slow enough. So how do we make this even slower? Well, let's put another splitter there and another priority merger there. And let's do curve mode just for the sake of it. And so that splitter is curving back, and this takes the external inputs at medium priority as well. So this should take 2/3 and loop them back, and 1/3 gets through. And if we put that throughput monitor in, then we should see that this is getting 10 a minute. And in fact, somewhere around there. Yeah, and then this can just persist stably like this forever. Now, the biggest problem, which I need to resolve, is how do you divide by 5, right? You can divide by 2, just like that. You can divide by 3, just like that. And you can stack them by having them just loop back like this. But how do you divide by 5? So if we can divide by 5, then I believe everything should work out excellently. And we can, like, do math, set this whole thing up, set a blueprint of a belt that only takes 0.6 a minute. But first we have to figure out how to divide by 5. So let's take all of this out. So we don't need any of this. What we just, all we need is a system like what we've done there, which divides the throughput by 5 instead of any other number. So let's start with a splitter. And I think, gosh, okay, this does not want to snap to the grid, so we're going to have to take the belt out and just build the splitters in so that they're snapped to the ground and not the belt. So I think if you do something like this, then obviously these two get their bits. And then, so now we can split it into 6, right? We're ignoring this output, using these 6. Now, if we cycle one of these back into the source, then we have 5 outputs left. But we have to do it differently. So we can't do it the same way we did it that way. So we have our priority merger there, and that is going to take, like, I don't know, most of these things. So it takes those, and it takes those, and we need one more merger on this thing. So we need that and that to then go in there. apparently an invalid belt shape. Thank you. Very cool. Alright, so what we have now is 5 out of the 6 loop back to the priority merger. And we set those to medium. Now the sixth input needs to loop back to another merger that isn't priority, I believe. So if we take this 6th output and it just goes into a random merger there, and I think it also is important that that has to be marked 2. Okay, no, I don't want to send anything through yet. So that has to be marked 2, because then this belt is going to be taking like 72 at a time. Alright, and then we just take one of these 5 normal ones and send it through to the output, which we're going to need more space for. Just going to push that back a little bit. And throughput monitor goes in. Alright, so I think this contraption will divide the 60 into fifths, and we should get 12 on this throughput monitor back here. It's obviously going to take a while for it to spin up. Now, we won't get 12 immediately. So first we'll get 10, but then, because this loops back here, this belt will be 72, and actually let's put a throughput monitor there and there. So this will, once this loop back happens, this will reach 70 and then eventually 72. And then 72 divided by 6 divided by 6 is 12. So this should eventually stabilize with an output of 12 a minute. Assuming that my theory is correct. Now, my theory might not be correct. This might not work at all. Okay, problem. So, this is still doing the whole priority merger thing, which means that this is never going to be 72, which means that instead this is probably going to be, I don't know what will happen in the long run, but this won't reach the value we're looking for. It'll probably stabilize at 10, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, it looks like it's sticking at 10. And hold on, wait a minute. Actually, theoretically, what happens if this backs up? No, so if this backs up all the way, then those two will still be 10, but these two will just be 15, so that won't work. Yeah, okay, so this is definitely stably at 10. So we've got some more cooking to do, but I think we're on the right track. The order of the mergers matters a lot. So what if this belt is the one that gets boosted? So we stick a merger in there. Oh wait, I think that has to be Mark 1. This needs to go up a little bit to get over. In and down and in. Alright, so this is 60. This is 72. I believe this will actually work. In theory. Although it's going to be weird, though, because... No, this is definitely always going to be moving at 60. It's just... Which means that this will be moving at 72 eventually. Yeah, and we see this is up to 65, up to 66. And still rising. It should hit 72, and this should hit 12. I might have to delete it and replace it, because it's done calculating. So this is rising. It should hit 72, which should mean that this should hit 12. Look at that, 13, 11. It's oscillating around, but it's hit 12. All right, we've done it. We have done complicated logic live on stream. So now if this is only 12, then we can stack this with... So that cuts it down by 5, right? So if we stack this with something that cuts it down... Hang on. Now we have to do the fun part of figuring out how to get 0.6 out of this. So that's 12. Cool. If we cut it in half again, that's 6. Cut it in half again, and that's 3. Cut it in thirds again. Hang on, how do we get 0.6? 0.6 is kind of a weird number to get to. Because we have to, like, stack these operations on top of each other. I don't know why I'm struggling to do this, but I've figured out the hard part. Now I just have to do basic math and I'm panicking. Alright, so 12 divided by... Actually, let's work backwards. 0.6 times 3. Is that anything useful? It's 1.8. Okay. Alright. I have an idea, actually. 0.6 times 2 is 1.2. Now 1.2 times 10 is 12. So if we take our 12 and we divide it by 5, we get 2.4. So we just have to, and then we divide that by 5, then we divide that by 2 twice, and we get 0.6. So in order to get a belt with a capacity of 0.6, we just stack this contraption twice, and then two halves, and then that'll be that. So now that we know what we're doing, let's take all of this apart. Don't need all of that. Alright, I should probably just go and finish off the blueprint expansion of this while I have the concrete. But we can make a blueprint which can make the load balancing. Alright, fuel rods. Is this oriented correctly? It is. So we just stack that up. And we put another one on top. And we're temporarily missing iron plates, but they have appeared. And we stack that one, and we're out of concrete. Alright. Construction progress has been made. And just need to bring these power lines up as well. Now, the fuel rods are going to start to stack up. That's fine. Better to have more fuel rods than less. Right, it's done the thing where it hasn't actually grabbed the power line again. So let's fix that. And drag up one more level. And done. And now it just has to wait for this to take forever to fill up with the uranium cells. But that'll be that. So now we just have to make our balancing contraption blueprint. Alright, so we delete all that. And we need to start with just an ordinary old Mark I belt. And give ourselves the entire blueprint machine of space. And we might end up having to do like multiple levels or something, like use 3D for this. Alright, so first step is the 2/5 contraption. So we just have to copy that. So it starts with a priority merger. Alright. Actually, so all of the priority mergers need to be the first things. So we need 4 of them. So let's put 1, 2, 3, 4 priority mergers in. And then we put in... No, I want these to be snapped to the grid, not to the belt, so let's take these all apart. So we start off with 1, 2, 3, 4 conveyor mergers. Then, oh wait, these need to be priority mergers, as I was just saying. Alright, so that's 4 priority mergers. Then we need a regular merger for the 5th device. Then we need a splitter. So we have a splitter which feeds into a pair of splitters. Alright, we have all that. Also the radiation... Oh, that must have been the uranium train going by. It's always a fun little thing to have happen unexpectedly. Alright. Now we loop one of these goes back into this, and we'll make that be this one. It really only likes it as default. So we have that. Then 4 of the other 5 outputs go back to this, which involves more mergers. So we have that, which takes that. And I want this to look reasonably sensible. I also want it to be compact, but making it compact is going to be kind of hard. Alright, so then that goes back into there. And then these all have to go back into that. So if we just put a belt there, and hook those two and that one. Then they can all go into that. Alright, but at the present moment, that just does nothing. So then we take one of those out and continue it along. Which, most reasonably done, just something like that. Alright, so we have that. And so that'll be 12. Now we have to do that again, which means we need a second floor. So let's pop a wall up, and I want this to be relatively compact. Also, I want to use fix-it foundations for this, just because it's, I don't know, it feels right. Alright, so the first batch of 5 is done. Now I need to do that same thing, but again. So hang on. Can I just replace that real quick? So then we just put that in. Give it a floor hole. And take an input. Alright, so now we have to set up the splitter part of this again. Which actually, how do we stack this? So this is the more spaced out version. So it's important that this is 72. Yeah, it's very much brain melting for me as well, don't worry. So it's important that this belt carries 72. Or, no, it doesn't have to be specifically 72. It has to be more than... No, if we just put another one of this whole section with the regular merger and all the splitters and stuff, and then loop back to the same priority, to a priority merger back here, I think that'll be fine. Brain melting is what you're here for? Well, this is the right stream for you. I don't normally get this complicated into load balancing type stuff, but figure for nuclear power, it's a bit more warranted than usual. So, we have regular merger. Alright, so we have regular merger there. Then we have splitter. Is this facing a random way? That's facing a random way. Alright, so we have a merger. I want to keep this compact. So put that somewhere like there. Then we put that splitter in. Alright, and then that just does that. Alright, then one of these loops back to that. The other 4 have to go down into this merger. Also, speaking of priority mergers, these all need to be set so that the outsides get priority. your fear is getting addicted to it. Well, yeah, that fear is very valid. I have a couple of hours in this game, and seems like it's just going to continue increasing. All right, so then. So this game has 161 hours, and the previous one has another 105. And then there's this one, which was I just very briefly played, but so yeah, a good solid couple of hours. Alright, so then that loops back to that. Most of these loop down to this. Yeah, it could be worse. But also I don't intend to stop anytime soon, so those numbers are only going to get worse. Alright, so we put that in. And that in approximately. And they turn there. Alright, so then most of the outputs put these. We've almost hit 3K in Rocket League. That's wild. Yeah. There was a brief period of time where I was interested in Rocket League. The thing that I always encountered was like, you know, the games are very short, and every game is basically the same-ish. So it's like doing the same thing thousands of times over. And I was like, this gets a bit tiring after a while. Alright, so. Nice. Yeah, it's fun being good at competitive games. You know? Alright. Back to the brain melting. We have this merging up those three. So that is 3 of the outputs. Then this cycles the other one back in. And now we have this one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely understandable. Competitive games tend to. A lot of times they're hard to get into. Like if you're bad, then you start playing and you are losing, so you're not having fun. So you just sort of never get better. That's my experience with competitive games a lot of the time anyway. Alright, so this is our... What did I say? This was like 2.4 a minute. So now I just need to split this in half twice. And bring those two halves down to the beginning. So let's put the splitters in first, just so we don't get all weird and off-centered. Alright, so we have splitter, splitter, and that goes into there. That goes into there, and that goes out somewhere. And then these two belts, I guess they can just merge up. Probably not going to hurt anything for that to happen. And then we expand that out. These are all medium priority. We only actually need one of them now. I'm just going to get rid of that one, I guess. And, right, the reason I was coming down here was to put the floor hole in. So So that gets a floor hole. And there. Make signs to show off how much should be coming off of a belt. That's a good idea. I should do that. But I'm just about done here, at least with the construction. So this is the output, which I want to put in a more significant location. So I think what I'm going to do, just for the sake of this being like relatively visually organized, is drag that over there and bring this output. Where did it go? So if I bring that up to this floor, then that goes there. This belt. Oh, did I put that in backwards? I think I put that in backwards. Yes, that needs to take intake. And then that loops around and up. And then out over here. So yeah, let's put signs in, at least in some of the like helpful spots. So a sign there, and this should be just text is fine. Should be 0.6 there, if I've done all the math right. Then let's see here. This bit, right, I have to connect all of these up because I didn't put the internal belts in yet. So let's put the internal belts in. And that's the regular splitter, which means the belt after it. No. Why did I cover this whole thing up? That's the regular merger. And then that's the splitter, which means that this belt in here needs to be marked 2 because it's going to be getting more than 60. Now the top floor won't need to do that, but that one will. Alright. And we put all of those belts in. Alright, bottom floor should be all good. Now we just put signs in to figure out how fast everything is supposed to be. So this is the input. Put that in. Text only, and this should be full. So the problem is, like, this whole thing is going to be inconsistent in how full it is. But so this is 60. Then you know what, the signs are only going to be so useful. I'm just gonna save this and actually run things through and just see if it works. And it'll probably take a while to warm up. So this is 60 to 0.6 belt decelerator. How do you spell decelerator? So let's save that, clear the designer, and find a nice open space. Plop a floor tile in, and you know, that makes sense. I bet it's probably that. Alright. So that goes in there. Wait, I need it to be facing a different direction so I can put the inputs and outputs in. So we have that facing that way. Now, we go over here. We get some space. And we plop in a storage container. Fill it with some random stuff. And in you go. And then, God, see, the thing is, right, the output is so incredibly slow that this test is going to take forever. Like, even if it works, the entire point is that it's going to take absolutely ages for anything to get through. Alright, so that is going along. Yeah, this is going to take a bit. But alright, so this is the end of the first floor. So this is supposed to be 12. I know that. So that's supposed to be 12. I'll put a sign there. And pop a sign in. So that should be 12. It'll start off at like 10-ish, I think. Wait. We have a backup? We have a backup. Ah, this looks like it's connected, but it isn't. Alright, so I'm going to make that fix. And now we're going to have to wait even longer for this all to stabilize. Thank you, very cool. Alright, it's still backing up. Why is it still backing up? Ah, I didn't connect this entire second floor up. Cool. That makes sense. That makes more sense than just missing one tiny little connection is missing all of the tiny little connections. So those are going to be fixes that are going to have to be made in the blueprint. But I believe all of the rest of this should be good. Now we're going to have to wait for a bit for it to stabilize. Because very briefly there's a lot more than 12 going through here because it was backed up. Also, we're just barely too far from the power to fly. Let's bring that power pole over there so that we can hover around. So that should be 12. Then, what is it? This one. This one should be 2.4, I think. Alright, if this one... I'm pretty sure this is the one that's supposed to be 2.4. Yeah, so it connects into this whole thing. So this belt should be 2.4. Just do that. 2.4. And then this will be 1.2, and that will be 0.6. Now the question is, how on earth do I tell if that's the case? Alright, so this is hitting 12 a minute. That's a fantastic sign. At least one part is working. Now we need to put something there. That should be 2.4 a minute, and then up here should be 0.6 a minute. And the throughput monitors are not that precise. So we'll be looking for numbers around like 0 to 1 to 2-ish on this. If anything is getting through at all. Alright, this is showing 2. 2 is a good number for that to show. Now it's rounded up to 3. This is definitely stable at 12. You love to see it. And this... Oh, this is all backing up. Is that a problem? Is that a problem? Probably not. So I'm not entirely sure. It might indeed be a problem for these to back up. I could change the priorities on these internal ones. It shouldn't be necessary though, right? Like, they shouldn't back up. I don't think. I think they should just stay stable like this. This is showing what looks like one... Yes, both of these look like they're showing correctly. And the only question is going to be if these backups are actually a problem or if they output to keep pace. And they should keep pace. Like, we should see a very occasional spike coming out of that. And a very occasional spike going into this. So far, 3 have gone through. And there looks like a 4th. So yeah, this might just be because of that backup that happened briefly. Because that backup has cleared. So that one's empty. I'm pretty sure that this all just works. Alright, with that in mind, I need to put those little hidden belts in. And I also need to put this in the utility section where it belongs. Alright, so that was this second floor here. So that goes in. That goes in. That goes in. And that goes in. And then I think that was everything, right? Just those couple of belts missing. So now we should set this to utility. Edit. So yeah, we can put that there. Apply changes. Close that out and save it. And clear the designer again. Grab whatever that junk it is. And that should be good to go. So now, with that in hand, we can load balance our fuel rods. And did we finish? Yeah, it looks like we did finish this tower. And everything looks functional. Alright, so now we come down here to the power plant itself. And what we need to do is set up 4 of those decelerators. And then attach them all up to the power plants. We need to clear out some mushrooms here. Get rid of you, and you, and this little one. Alright, now I want the foundations to go back to concrete because I think it looks better. For these purposes at least. Alright. So we go foundations, drag this across. And I think we're going to have to deconstruct the current power plants and move them back because they are going to be too close to this to be for the load balancer to fit in. Alright, so let's expand this out even more. Alright. Building out a massive platform over the ocean. Just doing this real quick. Alright, we have that. Now we need to bring the power along. Yep, as one does. Just ginormous, turning the ocean into a parking lot, no big deal. So, what we need is, first, we need the decelerator in, which points that way. Now, this is pretty small, actually. So, we pop that in, and then we're going to need to figure out the spacing that we need for the actual power plants themselves, which is going to be a fair amount. Power plants are quite big, and I need 3 of them per batch. And I could have made this decelerator to be 1, so that it brings it down another 2/3, and then we have 1 decelerator for 1 power plant. But I'm always going to be building power plants in batches of 3, so this makes more sense. Alright, so then just put that in. And power plant, and we need more space, and to not fall out of the sky every time we get slightly too far away from a nearest power pole. So that expands out. This power pole can extend along to here, I guess. Alright, so how many power plants do we have in this batch? We have 2. So we put in a 3rd. Alright. Then I actually want the decelerator to be centralized so that I can very easily just split it. Alright, don't go auto connect mode. I have more specific things that I need to do with it. Should be like there. Okay, also we need a little bit of space for the waste removal, but that's probably not going to be a problem. Alright, so then... Wait, don't dismantle that. Go to dismantle mode default. It's like a little bit too close, but I guess we can just slope down like that. And then just have these splitters go across like that, and like that. Alright, and then... Ooh, the waste output is a little bit awkward here. If I make these belts straight mode, yeah, so if I make those belts straight mode, it works out a lot nicer. So we're going to do that and that. And unfortunately, nuclear power plants are simply too big to fit in a blueprint, so there is nothing I can do to really automate this. It just sort of has to be like this. Yes, we did. I believe. Yeah, if you look very carefully, they're in there now. So yeah, I did remember to fix that. Alright, let's just bring that out like that. Yep, I mean, it doesn't really take that much time to just put a couple tiny belts in, you know? Alright, so then this all hooks up to there. And now it comes out. Alright, we have to actually be like a little bit careful. So if we stack that up onto a splitter, and bring it down like that, then we have enough room for this to come out under. Alright, as soon as I'm building in the world and not in a blueprint, I get infinitely more spaghetti. Not that I'm super great in blueprints either, but alright, does this connect to the top level? Yeah. Alright, so that is waste disposal attached. And then we just have to take the fuel rod input and attach that up, which is going to involve disconnecting it from this because these aren't technically functional because they're not balanced properly. So let's just take that out. Take all of those out. And then bring this belt along. And along. And in like that. Alright, so that is that. We just need to power these on, which is very simple. Just do that and add the water extractors. So these just go behind, and they each get 2. Alright, and then the water extractors get piped together, and we have to turn them on. Alright. Water extractors. Power. 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 And power. So now we just put the junctions on. And then loop the pipelines around. Keep them quite close because there is not really any room to spare. Because very narrow corridors in here. And then they go out and around. And then one last one. Comes in there and up. And in. Alright. So that should be everything to do there. Now we just have to hope that some power actually shows up and goes into them. Also, this needs to be a splitter. Oh, it needs to be a smart splitter, I think. How do you... Right, so you change the smart splitter and then you hold down control. And left is any, center is overflow. So that will make sure that this gets working. And alright, here come some fuel rods now. So hopefully they will find their way through the maze and into some of these. These are all attached to water. Now I have another three technically batches of these to set up. So I guess we'll start doing that. And of course, we get too far from the power line and bad things happen. Power plants are very, very large and take up a lot of space. Alright. We are sort of running into a rock here. It's probably not terrible. I'd sort of rather we didn't run into a rock. Alright. Power pole, please come on over. Wait, why did I not grab the nearest power pole and just some random one over there? Alright, so that can go there. That can go all the way back there, so that hopefully that has coverage. Now we expand these foundations out. Be wide enough for the power plants. Alright, next up is putting in the next batch of power plants. It's 1, 2, and 3. And then we put the decelerator in. And how do I get that to line up there? Alright, so they're lined up on this seam here. And then approximately, I don't know, there-ish is probably fine. So we put in another smart splitter saying left any center overflow, and bring the belt along. Alright, and then that goes in there. And are any of these going to turn on? Or are there just fuel rods lost in the middle of here forever? It seems quite likely that Alright, I'm getting radiation, so yes, there are fuel rods floating around in here. Statistically, eventually they'll make their way through, and then that will turn on, and hopefully that happens before these ones turn off. I think the geothermal power is enough to cover it. Yeah, probably. The geothermal power should be enough to cover it if those machines do turn off before these ones turn on. But I would rather not have to worry about that. Alright, so then this just goes down into there. And then splits off to there and there. And those need to be stacked to be the right angle. And they need to be facing the right way as well. So then that goes there. That comes down. That goes there. That comes down. Alright, then we put the mergers in for the waste. And hook those up. Alright, so then waste goes this way. And this whole area is like very spotty power-wise. Can't wait for that to be solved. Alright, so let's bring that power line in, just to prevent me from falling. Bring it a bit over there so it's more convenient for placing the water extractors. Alright, then that gets 2 extractors. This one gets 2 extractors. That one gets 2 extractors. And pipes go up. And junctions go in. And these need to get attached to power. I like to do that a little bit proactively so that they have time to fill up a little bit. Alright. So those are all powered on. Now we just bring them... Ooh, those power plants... Those power poles are actually somewhat awkwardly spaced. They make bringing this pipe along a lot harder, but we manage it anyways. Alright, then these two come along through here. And in there. And one last one. Right here on the outside. Up we go. And around. And into that. Alright. I just realized I have to actually hook the waste disposal up to that nice manifold I set up for it. Alright, it looks like one of these new ones is running. The other two are currently not. And I assume that there is going to be more power shards floating around in here. And yeah, so the power shards floating around in here are just going to increase until eventually this should backlog. Like, this should get stuck as a full belt of power shards. And then it should all be stable from that point on. Alright. So we have run out of power in one of these, it looks like. Which probably means the other two are about to die as well. No, they're like halfway through. Alright, well, I don't know what that's about, but regardless. Wait, how are these not connected to anything? Oh, those belts just went directly in. Okay. Yeah, the belts that I removed just went directly into those. Alright, so this still currently only has one going at the moment. Which... I don't know where the rest of the power shards have ended up then. Yeah, they're just floating around. This probably takes a fair amount of time to warm up. Not as much time as, like, manifolding this whole monstrosity, but definitely not quick. So I have so I have 2 batches set up properly, 1 batch set up wrong. So I need basically 2 more batches of this, and then we'll be using the full power shard income. And we're going to have to move around this rock. So let's go out this way. And boy, the ability to zoom in squares would be real convenient right about now. Alright, so we need to go out to, like, here to completely avoid the rock. So let's do that. And then just expand this out. So out it goes. And this should just narrowly avoid the rock. And we can bring power along with us. And God, I need to expand this out so far in order to have enough room for more nuclear plants. So the good news is concrete is being produced about as fast as I can place it. So there's no problem with that. Alright, so we have that. Now we need to start popping down the power plants. And have them lined up properly with the edge like that. 1, 2. This whole area is only barely more than enough to fit 3. Why are nuclear power plants so massive? Like, it's nice that I don't have to place hundreds of them like if I were doing a rocket fuel plant, but geez, they are very, very large. And because of how I'm doing this, like, it's not even like I can really stack them that easily, because that would just require placing pumps on all sorts of things. Like the reason I'm down here by the water is so that I can be right next to the water. Alright. Hopefully that'll be enough. And we can put... Nope, it wasn't even close, really. I need to keep bringing power along so I don't fall out of the sky. So let's just a couple more rows. Just a couple more rows. Alright. That is another 6. Alright, let's start by setting up the waste disposal. Just because we need to do it. And it's a very simple manifold, so like there's not much that can go wrong. Except for being slightly unaligned, which I don't even know if I care, but I will fix it because I noticed it. Alright, so then all of these get hooked up to the mergers. And then the belts go in. And the waste belt is going to need to be more than Mark 1. So I'm going to need to go back and upgrade that. I'll upgrade it all the way up to Mark 5 just to be sure. I would really... We are very, very close to being done with this, and I would really love to finish before the end of the stream. Alright, no, not like that. Why are the belts so weird? Just go to the nearest entrance. Alright, so then this has to go... Probably at this point, we need to upgrade it. I don't think it needs to be upgraded like after that. So that goes in. Fuel gets carried along. And boom, boom. Now it does that weird little thing there for whatever reason. And all the way up here and into the storage zone, which I'll have to mess with a little bit later. Also has... Yeah, so power at this point has entirely stopped. Although it looks like another one is going to get through in a minute. I really hope that that is going to work and eventually wind up towards the thing that I want it to do. So now we just have to come over here and put in the water extractors and the decelerators. Alright, we need a little bit more space here, which might wind up causing problems with the rock. And yeah, it is a little bit. But hopefully this one extra foundation wide is going to be enough. If not, I'll be somewhat sad. Alright, that's good enough, I think. Like, it's overhanging a little bit, but whatever. And we can also... So we also need one of these for every 3, so this... Just nudge that over to this one real quick. And get that lined up properly. I can't even tell if it is lined up properly. It is, alright. So we put that in for those 3, and then we put one in for these 3. And looks like we pretty much just got it correct that time around. So we plop that in. Then we... Oh, conveyor belt is too steep. That's a little bit awkward, but we can just fix that with a good old-fashioned conveyor lift. And then these come around, and they stay tall until the last possible minute where they go in. And then on that side, it's fine because it's closer. And then this one comes down into there, or not. Conveyor lift. Pop that one in. Put in the splitter. Stay tall until the last possible moment when you go in, and in. Alright, so that is that. We also need to hook up the water and the power poles to this. Speaking of power poles, I have fallen too far out of the way. Put a power pole there and bring it through to there. And water extractor time. Invalid aim location. Oh no. Are we too far off the edge of the map that this doesn't count as water anymore? Yes. Also, interesting. Alright, we have fallen under the ocean. If I get over here, maybe I can get out of this situation. Alright, I'm mashing space and I'm gaining velocity. I'm gaining height. If I can just get... If I can just get back... Alright. I'm on the wrong side of the ground now. Alright, I am on the wrong side of the ground. I think I see the cutoff there. So if I go here, and then gain height. Alright. I think I've recovered. Alright. Alright, we're back. However, that's very bad news. So these water extractors are apparently just as far out as you can put water extractors. And which means that building these nuclear plants here isn't going to work, I guess. Unless I can find... I need to find some other way of getting the water extractors in. Alright. Water extractors don't go there. So yeah, like this is literally just the edge of what is considered water. Now, fortunately, we have a solution. So there's water on the other side of this rock. We can put our extractors just over here, because this is just a tiny little island, not proper land. So we can just do that. It's a little awkward, though. I wish I'd known that that was a thing before setting up in this exact location. Alright, so we're also going to need to get... Oh, okay. Gotten out of range again. Please give me more power on the rock. Alright, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That'll be enough water extraction for this batch. And it's 5:02, but I'm just going to finish what I'm doing here real quick. Alright, so those all get attached up. And then powered on. Actually, I have this power pole right here, which is closer. The good side of having to drag power everywhere in order to fly is that you end up having power poles everywhere. Alright, now we just bring these pipes across, and I know there's not going to be anything in this space aside from like potentially a belt, but that'll be fine. So those get attached up. Then this comes over here. And then around here, give that some height so that it avoids some stuff. And then sneak it through that little gap into that. And then these water extractors come over and into that. Alright, now I just need 3 more water extractors for these 3. And then hook that belt up to these, and then we will be done with this nuclear power, at least for now, until we want to expand it again. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let's hook these up in batches of 2. And attach the junctions to them. And bring power back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cut a hole in the concrete slabs? What do you mean by that? Like, to put water extractors in? But I already have water extractors. I put them right here. Alright, so then these 3 pipes come along. And this one needs to get onto the foundation sooner. Yeah, I could do that maybe and get it a bit closer, but this is fine. Like, it's really not that far at all. It's a little farther, but not to the point where it's a problem. Alright, so these pipes just go along. Alright, then that goes into that one. This one comes up a little bit and then goes into that one. And then this one sneaks up over the decelerator and then down into that one. Alright. So that is water. Next up, we need to hook all of these up into the grid. Ah, that wire is too long. That's why that was failing. It's fine. We can just attach it with that. All right. And that. And that. And that. All right. So now these should probably... Yeah, so these are all hooked up to power. They are all hooked up to water. They're all hooked up to the waste removal. Now I just need to bring the belts along for the power, what are they called? Fuel rods. And then we'll be done. And then it'll just be a matter of waiting for them to, for the fuel rods to trickle through all of these decelerators. Alright, so then that goes across the top. And I need more concrete here to serve as a floor there. Then we get a smart splitter. And that goes in there. And then that goes there. Alright. And then this comes along this way. Goes around the rock. And now that we're on the other side of the rock, we can move that foundation back out. Put the smart splitter in. Left any center overflow. And there we go. That's that hooked up. Is this also set correctly? No, it's not. Let me do that real quick. It is left any center overflow. All right, and now as time goes on, the power shards will continue to move around, and this will all fill up and start producing a silly amount of power and a relatively large amount of radioactive waste as well. All right, so that is... Let's see, is this really still flickering like that? It is. All right, so that one is going. Those two aren't. Yeah, so I'm gonna end the stream here. We actually technically ran a little bit over, but that's fine. Thanks everyone for hanging out. I had a good time. Make sure to follow if you haven't already, so that I stream Satisfactory from 2 to 5 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday Eastern Time. And I also play Foundry, which is another 3D factory building game, very similar, although a lot earlier. Like, it's early access and not finished or anything, but still having fun with that. And I play that on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 5 Eastern Time. So make sure to come along and watch if you're interested in either of those.